At the end of the day, it's not about what you have or even what you've accomplished. It's about what you've done with those accomplishments. It's about who you've lifted up, who you've made better. It's about what you've given back. Denzel Washington. Welcome to Inspire Vision. Our sole purpose is to elevate the lives of others and to inspire you to do the same.
Birgitta, welcome to the show.
Hi, Dr. Dog. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Hey, it's great to have you. And where are you living right now?
On the other side of the globe from you, I'm in Spain. I'm in the Costa Blanca.
Oh, wow, that is so exciting. So I love what you've written about yourself, your bio and so forth. But what I'd like for you to do is share with the audience, who are you and what has been your journey to bring you to this point in your life, where you're obviously helping many people and you're writing a number of books.
Yeah. So, well, you're asking me a question. So it's like, well, I'm like you, just this consciousness in this body having a human experience, right? But no, but yeah, I mean, I still have one foot in the corporate world, but I am a channel. I'm a light language healer, which is like people are like, what? What are you? What's light language? And so it's a different healing modality, and it's pretty it's alter as you would call it alternative, but it's ancient. And it's all about the DNA activations, repairs, and it's so healing, but your mind is not going to comprehend it, but your soul understands the light coach just beautifully. And it's just using my voice box. And it sounds like gobbledygook. It sounds like gerbil language, but that's okay. So, and then I'm a soul empowerment coach as well, but I've studied so many healing modalities to get to where I am today because my life was marred with trauma. That's what I signed up for.
Well, and you don't have to get into the specifics, but kind of share what your life has
Yep.
been like and what finally brought you to this point where you've studied
Yeah.
and you've recognized your talents and so forth.
Oh, my life's been what I would call a roller coaster on steroids, quite literally. And I mean, we all go through different types of trauma and pain, and whatever we go through, whatever pain we go through, it's not about hiding away and thinking, why is this happening to me? But it's rather, actually, you know what? Why is this happening for me? Because many people remain in that victimhood. And I'll put it in a nutshell, because people will say, yeah, but maybe you didn't go through that, or maybe you didn't go through that. But I mean, I was abused by a friend of the family when I was about 10 years old. I lost my dad when I was 14 to coronary heart disease, but he knew he was going to die and he didn't take his medication. So what was it, a form of suicide? Well, I guess he just walked out alive. And I was bullied in high school because I was 5'11". I was super skinny. And kids copied my homework. And I had no self-worth, absolutely none. I would look in the mirror and just hate myself. And so even when my mom put me on a modeling course, just to crick up my confidence, that didn't help me either. And my stepdad passed away when I was about 25 to cancer. I rolled in with, oh, they were my friends. And because they always wanted to see my happy face, it was really about, I mean, I did months, and then from one day to the next I just stopped because I couldn't go on like that anymore. But because I carried all this trauma with me and I didn't heal, I rolled into dysfunctional relationships. And it was only until 2009 when I really hit rock bottom with another broken bird that I had attracted, because I was a broken bird, and that I really hit rock bottom. And he was a part-time crack addict, something I didn't know. But I think my fault at the time was that, it's not really a fault, it's an experience, is that I tried to save the, we need to allow people to walk their own path. we don't always do that because we like to mold them to our own liking. And it doesn't work that way because at the end of the day, I was also hurting myself because I was walking through hell to try and save someone. And he's doing very well now, but he was held for ransom by the Dutch Crips in Holland. And so I helped the police, and he was deported back to the US all those years ago. But like I said, he sorted out his life finally. And that's when I commenced walking the holistic path because I downed a whole box of ibuprofens. And well, I woke up the next day and it was kind of like a lame attempt at my own life. But I went to see a counselor, and all the counselor said to me was like, well, you're strong enough, you'll be okay. And that wasn't working for me. And so that's when I did the research and I found a Reiki healer. And that was the start of my holistic journey. Oh,
Wow.
I look, yeah,
Wow.
I
And
honestly,
when you talk about being a mystic, what does that mean, and when did you come to that type of realization? And really, what does it mean?
yeah, it's kind of because years later when I studied light language healing, because I studied many healing modalities, it's kind of like people have said, well, you're like a mystic. I'm just me. And so because I'm a little bit out there, I travel the astral planes as well. I see a lot of other light beings, and that's part of my normal. And so, yeah, so people call me like, I'm a mystic. I'm a light language healer. I,
Okay.
yes.
What is a light language healer?
So,
Quite honestly, I've
yeah,
never heard the term light language healing. So I'd love for
yeah.
you to explain to me and to the audience, what is that?
It's like the cosmic language of love because at our essence, at our core, we are love. And that's our key ingredient. But when we are born and we grow up, we kind of lose that because we're so conditioned and we live a certain way, we act a certain way, but many people do not feel at ease within their own skin. And I call that at a dis-ease with ourselves because our soul is not aligned with our body. And it's all about, well, yeah, it's all about understanding yourself, but it's also about being who you are and being comfortable within yourself. And it doesn't matter what people think of you, it matters what you think of you and how you feel about yourself. Something that people don't always get because they think they have to be a certain way. And I think that's a load of garbage, to be honest. And it took me a long time to figure that out because for me, at the end of the day, it was, I mean, I used to starve myself for years. I used to do that because that was my coping mechanism. And so was working 7 days a week. But light language healing is something that, as I said earlier, on a conscious level, you're not going to comprehend it. Um, but on a soul level, your soul understands the coach just beautifully. And it's me using my voice. I mean, well, it's using my voice box, but it's whatever I get through. And like I said, you're not going to understand it. Um, but it is so full sometimes. And the healing that I have seen, because I've also experienced it. When it first happened to me, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And it really helped heal my knee in one session. The pain was gone. And sometimes you will delve into past lives. And when I do the light language, I will get messages and then relay them. But yeah, I sometimes go into past lives as well, and that gets healed. And many people that quite a few people that I've helped. One overcame her fear, one was in a toxic relationship. And so decluttered her whole home to start again. And another one was able to walk properly again. So it's all different.
So is it something that someone can personally take advantage of and learn how to do? Or is this
Yes.
something that only individuals such as yourself can offer to other people.
Nope, anybody can do it. I always say
Okay.
this, you can do anything you set your mind to. Anyone has these what you call abilities, but it's putting the time and the effort in. So it doesn't matter if you want to study Reiki or any other holistic therapy. You have the abilities within you. But whether you decide to utilize them or open up that package, that is entirely up to you.
Okay, so I'm your friend, and I want to learn how I can tap into this light language healing
Mhm.
process.
Yeah.
How do I do it? How do I do it?
For me, it took a little while too, because it was there. And she's now a friend of mine. She used to be my mentor. And I said to her, look, it's within me. I need you to kick me off that cliff. And so she did several attunements and it was face. And then she started talking light language. And then all of a sudden it just blah, it came out. And I've never looked back since.
Okay, I'm still asking, how do
So how?
I seek
Yep.
and learn how to do the light language healing?
Yep. So gosh, like I said, anybody can do it, but it's looking for a teacher that can help you or can attune you. That's how it works. But
Okay,
with
so
any,
so I need someone that's going to actually attune,
yes,
as you say, attune me and
I call
help
it
me to
attuning,
learn,
but
yeah,
yeah,
learn
it's more like
how to do
opening
it.
up. Yeah, more opening up. And
Oh, go
and didn't,
ahead.
like I said, Doc, it didn't come from me straight away. It was very frustrating until I found the right teacher.
And as you go through that process,
Mm.
I know that you talk about your journey was one of self-healing
Yes.
and so forth. There's something on your website that I love, and if you don't mind, I'd like to read it.
Mhm.
Finding yourself is an uncovering of the hidden gem of the iridescent self, back to the neverland of the magnificent, wondrous, eternal light that you are.
Yeah.
Life is about recovering the self by removing the layered, labeled conditioning you have adorned the self with, having
Mhm.
transformed the self into the multi-layered frosted cake, I love that, you are, and reveling in the nakedness of who you truly and awesomely are and always have been. Be not who you are not, but be who you are by defrosting the icing and popping out of the cake merely by alchemizing one's experiences. Okay, so that's a lot of words, but the question is, how does one start to literally remove that multi-layered frosted cake that they are and really start to become that eternal light of who they genuinely are? I
Yeah.
think there's many words that you can use that, I am
Yeah.
that I am, or just become,
Yes.
all of those type of things. How does one go about doing that?
It's really, first of all, taking accountability for your life. Because people like to deflect a lot and like to blame others. Yeah, this person is doing this to me. This person is saying this about me. Who cares? Yeah. At the end of the day, you have to take responsibility for your life. I've had to do that. And just because I went through trauma in my childhood, when I grew up, I had to learn to forgive. You can keep saying, yeah, but this happened in my childhood. How can I forgive? How can I forgive myself? But it's so important. It's so important to learn to forgive yourself and have compassion, and return to that love for yourself and just be gentle. And we are not. So it was a real process for me. And the other thing is we've slapped so many labels upon our minds, the fear, shame, guilt. I call them all these red O negatives. And we live our lives according to that conditioning. So in order to make these changes, it's looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, you know what, I really want to change. I am worthy of change. And I'm deserving of that. I'm deserving of a better life because we all are. But we are either our greatest builders or our greatest destroyers. And, we are creators, we are manifestors, we are energy. And so returning from that heaviness, I always call it we're divine alchemists. So returning from that heaviness that led, it's all about healing ourselves and understanding our experiences and becoming a more enlightened version of ourselves. And it's not going to happen, in one night. It takes time to heal, and that is okay. But take that first step.
Well, and as you talk about that, the thing that comes to my mind is we've all had different experiences in our lives. And as children, some have had much worse experiences than others. But as we look at those experiences, how do we reframe those to, rather than be victimized by them and thus be at that lower level of victims, versus looking at them from a standpoint of what can I learn, or what have I learned, or what has become better in my life because of those experiences, which obviously you have to face and relate to.
Absolutely. It's tough. It's not easy. It really isn't easy. But as I said, regardless of the trauma that we go through, we have the to create a better life for ourselves. And it's all about, as I said to you, taking that first step and getting the help that you need. Some people think it's beneath them to reach out and get counseling or whatever healing you decide to pursue because it has to align with your spirit. But I applaud those that take that first step to reaching out to someone or professional help because it is really, really important. And it's like I said to you, Dr. Dog, it's not easy. It wasn't easy for me either. But when I hit rock bottom pretty bad, and that wasn't the only time, every time I did, I knew I needed help. And so that is what I did. I got that help.
And so you started, it sounds like, with Reiki, and
Yep.
then you went from there. What were the steps that you took to the point that you got to the
Yeah.
light language?
Yeah. So, I mean, I studied many other healing modalities, but for Reiki, I've always said it was my saving grace. I mean, this teacher taught, she said to me, Brigitta, why do you allow yourself to be treated like a doormat? Yeah, people run all over you. And it was because I was so afraid to hurt other people. I just lived in fear. I lived in fear what people thought of me. And that is no way to live. But many of us do that. And it's the same in relationships. We stay with people we because it's normal to remain in this discomfort because we don't know what's on the other side of that fence. And so people like to remain in the known and remain in that dis-ease within themselves. And that was never an option for me. I mean, yes, it was for many years until I snapped out of that. Um, so
So you studied
yes.
Reiki, and
So
then what else did you
yes.
study?
So Reiki, yeah, I studied Reiki. I became a meditation teacher. I studied EFT, the emotional freedom technique, which I really, really love because it's such a simple healing process where you tap the emotions out of your system. And so the trigger is gone. And so you've alchemized the experience and you can talk about it without being triggered. Um, and I studied, so my word, it's like going down the list. Um, what else did I study? Relaxation therapy, angelic Reiki, aromatherapy, aroma touch, just to name a few. I became a Reiki master many years later, so I taught people as well. I attuned them. I gave workshops in meditative art by giving a meditation, and then people would paint, and I would explain to them what the painting meant and the relevance to their lives. I really enjoyed that. I even gave a pendulum workshop. But in all that time, even though I had studied, I was still going through pretty gnarly experiences, but I was able to teach. And again, years later in 2016, I hit rock bottom again. And it was merely the universe repackaging a different character and thinking, oh, what's Birgitta going to do now? And boom, I made the same mistake. It was really like trying to save someone. And yeah, that was pretty bad. And that was again, sometimes we are faced with so many challenges. And it's finally when our back is against the wall that we're so exasperated that it's like, yeah, what are we going to do to make our lives better? And so again, um, I I mean, I was pretty much, you could call it depressed. I mean, I was crying and on the floor and screaming at the universe, but because I didn't want to go on anymore. And then there was like a little breadcrumb, and it came in the form of kambo healing, which is shamanic frog medicine. And my sister advised me of this, and I went, and it was so physical, such a physical experience for me, but it turned my life around. And from that point on, I mean, I met my former mentor. I was kicked out of my house, so to speak, by spirit or the universe, and I went to this First Unity Church in the States, in St. Petersburg. And yeah, I met my former mentor there and walked through past lives, and that's where I learned to channel. And
Yeah.
I'm really someone that believes in development, that believes in progressing in life. And
Well,
from coming from a state of being kind of in that victimhood and running away from my emotions to where I'm now is a world of difference from like 20 years ago. But I'm still a work in progress.
well, but it took all of those experiences you had with all the
Yes,
different modalities to where,
yes.
and even though you say, you went back and, back down to a worse place and so forth, the reality is, at least from my impression, is that they all were a foundation for you that as you move
Yes.
forward again, you were able to reach a higher and higher level for yourself that you were seeking to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what holds us back the most? It's fear. Fear. And
Yes.
fear is, it's called full gosh, duh. Um, what I call it, I always say it's, well, false evidence appearing real, but my guides always say it's actually falling endlessly or a rising revolutionary. The choice is yours, isn't it?
Yes, yes, that's so true. Well, and then you've written some books. I know one of the books that I
Yes.
saw is Becoming Authentically Me. What is the
Yes.
message? What is the message in that? And if people were to read it, who would be the target audience that would find some tremendous benefit from reading that?
Anyone would benefit from it. It's pretty advanced, but many people have said to me, it's just encoded with healing. It took me 20 years to write that first book.
Wow.
And because, yes, I had to go through a lot more trauma, so I had to put it next to me. And then when COVID hit, I mean, I'd started a new job, a corporate job, and my guides were like, oh, you're going to finish it. You're going to write it now. I was like, are you serious? And so I was burning the midnight oil. But it is about the shift. The first part is about the shifting consciousness, about why we're going through all these transformations in the world. And it's all about awakening. It's all about shifting our consciousness, and ridding ourselves of that 3D conditioning and returning to that love for ourselves and each other. So I talk about that. I talk about the Anunnaki. I talk about Atlantis. I talk about Lemuria. I talk about the fact that there is no death. And a lot of it is just channeled because I work a lot with the Ascended Master Saint Germain and Archangel Michael and also the Egyptian deities. And then the second part of my book is about my life and all the trauma that I've been through. But I also touch on addiction, I touch on mental health, and I touch on depression. And that's the one thing they say. It's really depression is all about pressing, pressing the weight of the world that we carry on our minds, because everything we collect everything within our minds and we put it in the archives of our minds. And then it presses upon our hearts and we feel stuck in this void, in this emptiness. And that's often how I felt, but I just kept going. I always soldiered on. So I talk about that, and I talk about what else did I talk about? Oh, Shambhala. I channel several people that have crossed over and some committed suicide. And I talk about life and how we can overcome our suffering. And the many masters up there, they'd say, well, take life with a pinch of salt, because whatever you're going through, remember that life is an experiment to be experienced. It's like a buffet. Yeah. And do not stick with the same plate, but rather try different experiences. And when you try different experiences and you overcome, you will start to understand life more. And rather than remaining stagnant or sinking in that quicksand of one experience, get out and heal, because we're like an onion and we keep peeling back the layers, the experiences. And when we overcome, we become, and then whatever we go through after that, it's like, oh, you know what? Yes, I understand this. Let me look at it from a different perspective. See, I don't hang around in an experience anymore like I used to for years or even months. And it's like, oh, wait, why is this happening for me? Okay, what can I do about it? And if people like to huff and puff, fine, let them huff and puff. I don't need to do that. Um, and I used to huff and puff and moan all the time. Now, no, it's okay. It's all right, Dr. Dog. We vibrate at different levels of consciousness. And that's that duality. Yeah. If we didn't have that, then how could we be reflections of one another? Because we're all teachers of one another.
Well, that's right. And you kind of are talking a little bit about this, but you talk about living in the here and now rather than in the
Yes.
past or in the future. And there's many teachers out there. For instance, being here in Thailand, Buddha, I know, talks about being present in the here and now and not worrying about the past, not worrying about the future. Share with the audience your thoughts about what that means and how that can be accomplished.
Yes, many people live in the past. Reminisce about the past, or they're thinking about the future. But you need to, and you're right, you need to be present in your body. And that's all about grounding ourselves and being also present in the moment. And grounding ourselves means, imagining roots coming out of your root chakra or a beam of light, and going through all the layers of the earth and just wrapping it around the core of the earth, and just being present within ourselves. Because when we're present within ourselves and in the moment, that is when we create. And that is really important. That's the art of manifestation. It took me a long time to figure that one out, because I was like, yeah, but I worked so hard for this, and why isn't it working out? Because energetically, there was still a kink in the cable. And that's why being present and creating in the now, you will create better tomorrows. And
Well,
when you heal,
go ahead, keep
so
going.
yeah, when you heal your past, then it doesn't trigger you anymore.
Well,
Yeah,
and
and
I
that
think this concept of manifestation, I think you've hit on a really interesting point, that you have to be at a point of here and now and not being affected by past or worry about future to where you literally can manifest because you have become and therefore attracted that back into your life.
Yes. Yeah, we are a magnet. We attract exactly what we need for our soul's growth.
So as we come to the end, what would be a message that you would like to share with the audience that you feel like could be of value to them?
So, wow, there's a few things, but I need to keep it on the 60 seconds.
Okay.
So, yeah. Wow. Life is all about returning to that love for ourselves and hugging it out with ourselves and sitting sitting inside ourselves, as I always put it, and having a chat with our inner demons that are running rampant, within us because of our experiences. And we hold ourselves back so much because of fear, of shame, of regret and guilt. And why do we do that to ourselves? Yeah. It's about learning to let go, learning to forgive, having that compassion, and being kind to yourself. These are such important aspects in order for us to move forward. I know it's not always easy, but you have to take that first step. And when you commence to heal, honestly, you will eventually return to a more authentic version of yourself.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you've written some more books. So talk about the latest book that you've written.
It's called Become Empowered, and it's a collaboration with 13 other authors. And it's all about transformation and overcoming our own suffering of everything that we have been through. And so it's 13 different stories, and it's powerful. It's been a number one Amazon bestseller. So was and that went really, it was like boom in one day. So that was amazing. And then I have
Wow.
another one coming out in August and another one coming out later this year, which is about my travels to India, learning the art of meditation and breath work, because breath work is so important. It's like rather than reacting, it's like take a pause and take a breath and think before you speak. So we also learned the art of silence and being in service. And I remember this. This is a funny story, but there was this kid, and I'd been, sweeping the floors, and this kid just ran through it, and I was in silence, so I couldn't say anything. But that was at the Art of Living Center in Bangalore. So I spent a couple of weeks there. Was amazing. So in that book, I channel a lot of the Indian deities. I also talk about depression and suicide, relationships, um, romantic and interpersonal relationships. And I talk about Sri Ravi Shankar, who is a humanitarian who I've met as well. Yeah, so it's
Fascinating, fascinating.
yeah.
So how do people find you on the internet? I know they can go to Amazon for your books. How do they find you? You
Yes,
have a website.
yes. My website is powersoulhealing.com. And I'm on Instagram under Universal Light Warriors. And I have a YouTube channel where you can find many of my podcasts, but also snippets of light language healing that you can just listen to. Um, some are to do with toxicity, fear, healing the hurt. And that is under Power Soul Healing. That's it.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
No, thank you
I
so much for having me.
this It's so fascinating. Everyone has such different approaches, and it's so wonderful to be
You
able
do.
to share that and let the audience listen to all of these different approaches and find one that actually resonates with them.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? I'll say something. With some people, light language doesn't resonate. And I've never said, but you have to do it. No, you have to do whatever resonates with your own spirit, whatever modality works for you, and do just that because it's not like one size fits all. No.
Well, that's true. That's true. So thank you. And folks, thanks for listening. Hope you really enjoyed it. And we look forward to having you join us again soon. This is Dr. Doug saying namaste.